So my name is Sharath Mendes. I lead our banking industry team globally for AWS. What that means is I get the pleasure of working with banks and helping them use technology to transform how they deliver services, both to their customers and from their operations point of view. I mean, second time to Brazil, second time to Sao Paulo, first time at our symposium in Brazil. But I love coming to Latin America and Brazil because I actually see a lot of innovation in terms of how banking customers are able to use technology to serve the underserved population of banking, whether that's in Brazil, whether that's in Latin America. What I see that's really interesting is how they use technology and how banks here use technology to really be able to drive that true customer experience and remove friction from the process. We also see a lot of customers being able to use things like WhatsApp and others to drive that communication channel. It's not something that we see across globally, and also because of the underbanked and underserved situation in Brazil historically and Latin America historically, what we've seen is also that adaptive use of technology to be able to reach further out into customers, and by having a lower cost basis, be able to improve how many customers are actually banked in the economy. Now, when I contrast that in the US or in Europe, we see completely different approaches because you've got more traditional banks that have more of a capture of the market. Organizations work within the regulations to meet their customer demands, whether that's in Brazil in terms of what's happening with the GDPR situation here, or whether it's in the US or whether that's in Europe. What we see is that customers want to use AI because for two reasons. One, they know that it's going to drive a better experience for their end consumers. And two, they're actually able to reduce their cost envelope so that they could reach out and service more customers. So whether that's what we see in Europe, Middle East, the US, Asia, or Latin America, we see more and more customers embracing that technology and working within the regulation frameworks that they have to abide by, being financial service institutions, to be able to drive those two improvements, customer experience or operational efficiency as well. I think if we go back 1.5 years, when we saw generative AI really take that mainstream attention, what we saw was a lot of focus on how do I create a better chatbot. I would say over the next 6 months and into this year and halfway through this year, what we have seen is more and more banks really focusing on that middle office, fraud, financial crime, and back office functionality. And how do I actually use generative AI and AI capabilities to remove friction in those processes? Because the chatbot side of the area is something that people still explore. I think what's even more interesting beyond that is now what we've seen with generative AI is you can actually focus on automating what we call specialization and not just something that you had to standardize. So historically, when we thought about automation, we thought about automating a standardized process. But now with generative AI, we're seeing banks actually automate specialization. That could be responding to syndicated loans, that could be supporting small business customers, or it could be building a very specific industry vertical to be able to service customers. So that's kind of where I see the pivot. So we started off with customer experience, we moved into that middle back office and fraud, and now we're seeing that pivot into specialization and driving automation and through specialization using generative AI.